Rick, if you can start recording on TV 34. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I'd just like to remind our members to mute themselves and unmute when you're speaking so we can cut down on the background noise in the recording. So, without further ado, good evening and welcome to the December 10th meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. And we are being broadcast live on Channel 34, which is the Montclair TV channel, and remotely on YouTube. And as this is a remote meeting, if anybody in the public would like to join, you can access the Cisco WebEx meeting event at the meeting link, and all of this is on the Montclair Township website. You can access by either using an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, and also participate by telephone. And that number, if you're calling by phone, is 1-408-418-9388 and enter the meeting code 173-772-4922. So, Janice, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Chair Bennett.
Present.
Vice Chair Heineman.
Here.
Mr. Rooney.
Here.
Mr. Greenbaum. Ms. Kane-Levy. Mr. Reimnitz.
Here.
Okay.
And also in attendance is Mr. Conley, who is the HPC consultant, and Mr. Karasik, hello, who's our attorney, and of course Janice Talley, our assistant secretary, who's filling in for Graham Petto as he is on leave until the first of the year. So the first order of event is the adoption of the minutes of our last meeting, which just seems like it was last week, but it was actually November 19th, 2020. Does anyone have any changes or amendments to the minutes from November 19th? It sounds like no one. I have one thing that I would like to see changed, Janice, and that's just really a clarification of a sentence that I'd also like to see changed on the resolution. And it's under old business. It's the second paragraph, and it's the second sentence. The one that reads is, the commission also stated that the wood panels should be consistent with the existing ban in the pilaster. And I think that's a little bit vague. So if it could be a little bit more understandable, which would read, and it's a long sentence, so I'll go slowly. The commission also stated that the horizontal edge of the woodblock panels in the vestibule should line up with the existing corbel band of the pilaster in the facade, in the front facade. I'll send it to you, Janice, okay? Because that was something that I think it was Mr. Greenbaum was very particular about, and it just doesn't read that way in the minutes. Okay. So
I have one item there.
Sure.
It says wood panels. These are not wood panels. These are faux wood panels, right?
Oh, right. You're absolutely right.
Just to be clear in terms of how we're describing it.
And I'm glad you caught that, John, because in the resolution, find the resolution. I think it says would like. Hold on.
It says would look.
Would look. Okay, so why don't you put that the horizontal, change the first sentence as well to read that the wood look elements in the vestibule should be horizontal. And then in the sentence, the second sentence, it should also say that the wood look panels in the vestibule.
Okay.
Okay, so with those two changes, may I have a vote to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the minutes are approved with those changes. The next order of business is public comment. Do we have anybody, Janice, that has called in?
No. The only member of the public here is the applicant for the referral to the board.
Okay, so moving along, we have no old business. I'm sorry, we have committee reports. So the committee report, we did have a minor applications meeting this morning that Caroline and myself and Janice were in attendance. And we had 3 C of A applications, one for Monterelli Bakery, the new bakery on Bloomfield Avenue, one for Keys Cuts and Daily Dose on Glenridge Avenue. And those were all pretty straightforward with signage. So we took care of that. The revisions committee, we met, was that between last meeting and this meeting at the Investors Bank? John, you and I did that. Did you report on that last time, or I can't remember when that was? Well, you have to unmute yourself.
I reported on that last time.
Okay.
That's in the note. That's in the notes yes, last time.
Okay, great. And so then moving on to design review and development. Mr. Rooney, do you have anything to report from that?
Well, the thing that we're going to see tonight is
Okay.
that was Plofker's thing, and I don't remember anything else for that.
Yeah, that was the only item that we reviewed at the Development Review Committee.
Right, and then Monday we had a planning board meeting, and that's when we went over the Church Street application, and it was passed. They had changed a lot about it looks a lot nicer, but it will go back to the committees, and we approved the structure, like surfaces, material, to the revisions committee.
Okay, is that going to come back to us? Or, I mean, it was passed by the planning board, so we won't see that again, correct?
You won't see it again unless,
Okay.
I think maybe the revisions committee comes through. Is that both?
No, that's the revisions committee of the planning board.
Okay.
Okay. And then education and outreach, I have nothing to report for that, but I would like to report that for the RFPs that went out for the historic preservation consultant for next year, 2021, we received 3 replies. One was too high. The second one was based in Brooklyn. And Mr. Conley, if you will, and from Conley and Hickey, if they'll accept for next year, I'd like to propose that that we continue with Conley and Hickey as our historic preservation consultant for 2021. So does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I think that's fine. That's, all good. Tom has done a great job. So
Yes.
You
Yes.
should do a written report regarding the proposals that were received. Basically, a simple chart that shows you had factors which, in your view, disqualified 2, or at least made them less attractive. You should just indicate that on a single sheet report.
Okay.
I have a
And that
memo
could-
that summarizes all the that summarizes all the proposals, so.
That may be sufficient, so I'll take a look at that. It's just that's what the local public contracts law requires when you do a request for proposals, for you to sort of, in writing, evaluate them and break conclusions.
Okay, thank
Stop
you,
doing
Iris.
this tonight, since you already have done it, but I just think you should for your records.
Well, I can ask Janice to do it to have it for the next meeting. Right, Janice?
Yeah, I mean, I've already prepared that report and I sent it to Kathleen and Jason and said, my recommendation was to go with Connolly and Hickey. And I explained what the factors were, exactly what you needed.
And then they've recommended it to the commission, so
Right, so
Right.
I think we've already done that.
no reason not to proceed tonight. I just wanted to make sure that that particular procedure had been followed.
Right.
Right. Well, does that have to, and that could be in the minutes from this meeting?
Yeah, you could
Correct.
put that in.
Yes, and that would suffice it for the report?
Yes,
Okay. All right, great.
it doesn't have to be on record, it just has to be there.
Right.
Right. Okay. And I think that's it for committees as we're winding down the year. There is no old business. And we will go into, next will be new business.
So Mr. Plofker, Cody, I just made you a panelist so that you can participate and be heard at tonight's meeting. You might
Thank you. Yeah, just unmuted myself just now. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let me pull up your exhibits.
Okay, while Janice is pulling that up, I will introduce the application. This is application 2696, located at 37 North Willow Street. This application has been filed to the Board of Adjustment for use variance and bulk variance relief. The application is referred to us, the Historic Preservation Commission, for advice as required under Montclair Code 347-142. This property is located within the Walnut Street Potential Historic District, and it is identified for further historic study in the 2016 Historic Preservation element of the Township Master Plan. It is, as I mentioned before, it is being reviewed by us according to Montclair Code 347-142. And the historic preservation element describes the Walnut Street area as an area consisting of a wide range of building types, including single and multi-family houses, commercial structures, apartment buildings, railroad infrastructure, and industrial development built between the late 19th and early 20th century. The 2016 field survey indicates that the buildings within the area exhibit a moderate level of integrity. The project description is as follows. The applicant proposes to convert a single one-family home into a two-family home, convert the existing accessory barn into a single-family dwelling, and construct a new garage on the subject property. A total of 5 parking spaces with 2 spaces in the garage are proposed. Now, this is, as I said, this is being referred to, our recommendations will then go to the zoning board. And part of that is that what the applicant is requesting is a D variance relief, which is a use variance to permit 3 dwelling units in a zone that permits no more than 2 dwelling units. And then there are 3 C variances. A variance to permit more than 1 principal building, a variance from the required side yard setback, and a variance from the required rear yard setback for a principal structure. So we are looking at this, and as it fits into the historic district of the proposed Walnut Street Historic District. So I know everybody has received a copy of the plans that were created by Paul Sionis. And we have the applicant here, Dakota Plofker. And if you would raise your right hand, our attorney will swear you in.
Cody, Mr. Plofker, are you the only person who's going to testify? I see you have a companion, that's why I'm
Yes,
asking.
my fiance is with me. Do I need her to put her hand
No,
up?
not at all. No,
Yeah.
unless she's going to testify.
Just
Okay,
me.
fine. Could you repeat after me? You solemnly, actually, you don't have to repeat it. Do you solemnly swear the testimony is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, could you state your name and your relationship to the applicant?
Sorry, I'm probably hearing you with some papers.
Oh,
Okay.
Can you repeat that, please?
Oh, I said, could you state your name, please, and your relationship to the applicant? I don't know if this is an LLC applying or is it an individual?
No. Dakota Plofker, I am the applicant.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Plofker, is Paul Sionis with us tonight as well?
No, he is not. He was not able to make it. I'm not sure if you received it. He did submit some comments just based on some of the questions that were provided prior.
Yes. Okay, so I'll just mention that earlier today, dated December 10th, Mr. Sionis, the architect on this project, submitted answers to questions that our historic preservation consultant, Tom Conley, had written in his comments. Has everybody gotten a copy of this and able to read it?
I read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Did you see it, Steve?
I'm just reading it now.
Okay, we'll give everybody a few minutes. And then I'll ask Mr. Plofker to go over the plans with us, okay?
Of course. Do you want me to do that now or after they've had a chance to read it?
Just in a few minutes. Okay, are we ready to continue? Has everyone had the opportunity?
Yeah,
I'm
let's move
good.
forward.
I'm good.
Okay. So Janice, if you could just put up those plans. So we're just waiting for the plans to appear on the screen, and then you could, if you would, just walk us through so we have a visual idea of what you're proposing.
Of course.
And just
Okay.
keep in mind, I know you're converting it and adding an additional unit. We're primarily concerned with, the exterior and particularly the elements that are visible from the right of way. So
For sure.
if you want to streamline your presentation and just talk about the exterior elements.
For sure. Okay, so I can start with everything that's not exterior, just get that out of the way while we're pulling up the plans.
Janice, do you have the plans that you could put up?
I'm working on it right now. I think I accidentally closed the plans before, so give me a moment.
But yeah, so we are, we're seeking variance to be able to turn that rear barn was used for many years by the Lombardi brothers for like commercial uses. It's a very large lot. It's over 2 times the size of the average lot in the street. So we're hoping to be occupied by, and there would be interior as well as exterior work on that. And then the front house is a current we're in a 2-family zone. It's a current single-family house. So we're hoping to turn that into 2 units, and that would only be interior work. So there's no proposed exterior work on that front house.
Can you see the existing 2-story barn from the street?
Very slightly. You kind of have to look for it. So as you can see, it's an L-shaped lot. There's a large fence. It's a 6-foot fence that kind of separates the front house from the rear. So from this side, you can't. Only if you were looking, if you were a little bit south of it, there's a garage. As you can see, there's a garage in front of it. So where this picture was taken from was our property, was in the back of the front house. But from the street, there is very little view. And then on the other side, on the, I guess that would be the east side, there is the housing projects there. There's a big parking lot, so there's not a lot of view from the other side as well. And then there's also several trees, as you can see there, which further restricts that view.
So Janice, can we go to the plans which show us what the proposed exterior will be? The renderings of the that new building and also of the garage. There you go. So Mr. Plofker, could you just explain these drawings, please?
Yes, of course. So this barn has existing pretty old siding on it, and we are hoping to put wood paneling on it. We're kind of going for a, modern farmhouse look, a little bit more contemporary than, what currently exists there and what would be common to the area right now. But it would be wood. It would not be vinyl. I know that was one of the questions.
Yes. So what you're proposing is horizontal siding for the first floor, vertical wider siding for the second floor, and replace the roof with, I forgot what kind of tiles, shingles you have. And then going to the garage, the new garage, I think that would be on the next page, Janice. There you go. That's the same material you're proposing, the horizontal?
Yeah, and that would be all horizontal, no vertical on the garage.
Okay. And what are these in the front? Are those garage doors that we're looking at, or are those windows?
Yes, those are garage doors.
So the bottom is solid, and the top, which looks like transom, or windows.
Yes. Yeah, just as part of the top of the garage door.
Okay. So why don't we start then with, do you have anything else to add to the visual here?
No, that was primarily it. Again, it's, a little bit more contemporary. That's kind of what's currently there. And again, just kind of want to, bring up again that there's not a ton of visibility from the street. It's pretty hard to see. It's pretty tucked away back there. And, pictures don't really do it justice. I don't know if anybody's had an opportunity to see it in person, but it's a very big lot, much larger than any other on the street in the area. So the house is kind of tucked away back there.
What so you're going to use the same footprint for the barn is now, correct?
Right. Yeah, hoping to use the existing structure.
And is the barn, what is that, the material of the barn? Is that siding, or is that concrete currently?
It's siding.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
So if you have nothing else to add, we'll open it up to questions from the commissioners. So why don't we, John, we'll start with you.
Okay. My only question is really regarding the new garage. It looks like it doesn't really go well with the existing house or the new barn in terms of stylistically, but what were your thoughts about doing this new garage there?
That's a great question. I guess because it would kind of be sitting between them. It would be on the side of the fence as a new house. I guess it might make more sense to have it look like that stylistically.
I'm just wondering, I think it would be more successful on your behalf to make try a little bit harder there, but that's my only comment and question. So.
Okay. Would you be in favor of it looking more similar to then the house to the rear or towards the front house?
I think if you're building it new, I would try to match, not match, but tie more into the house in the rear. I think that would be. I don't think you see either one of these things, so it's all sort of a moot point as far as I'm concerned. But I think I would try to tie it into one or the other. I guess who's going to use that? Is that going to be used by the people in the back or the people in the front? Double two family, or you don't know who's using what in terms of parking?
I believe I misspoke. If I'm looking at the plans correctly, I actually think the garage would be on the side of the current house. So I think I'd have to double check and check with Paul, but I believe that's why we kind of had it, be a little bit less contemporary, more, a little bit more similar to the current house or more in between, just because it is kind of right between the two houses.
Actually, Cody, I think according to the plans, it's behind this fence.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't tell where that fence was.
I'm sorry, it's behind the fence, and I thought that it was like a board-on-board fence, so I don't think it's going to be visible.
You're right.
And it looks like to me there's a walkway that connects the barn to this garage, as if this garage but again, this is I'm not trying to design it for you and Paul. I just think you might try to tie the two together. I don't think that's all.
I understand. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Yeah, now it will be used by the back actually, so that makes sense.
Okay, Jason, Mr. Hyman, do you have any question for the applicant?
I don't have any questions.
And Mr. Rooney?
I really don't have any questions because it's not visible from the street. So I sort of agree with John about mimic one building or the other, but it's not really that important because I'll never see it.
I understand.
I have a question. The impervious surface, are you creating more impervious surface on this lot? Or I realized from the drawings that you're removing the asphalt that's in front of the barn or to the north of the barn, but are you creating more impervious surface with the new driveway and parking area?
No, we'll have a little bit extra in terms of driveway, but we're adding yard in the rear, so adding sod in the rear.
So that whole area to the right of the new proposed garage in front of the barn, that corner will be green.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then it's a good point to bring up now about the trees. You had mentioned the trees that were on the property. Are you planning? Do you know how many are there and how many will remain?
They're not actually on the property. They're on the other side of the fence, so it's not on our property.
Okay.
So yeah,
you're proposing new landscape then, or?
No additional trees, just sodding and then some maybe planters along the front house, just in the driveway. But no, right now the trees provide a nice level of privacy from the barn.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions before we go to Mr. Conley's comments and Paul's response?
I have one comment, and we brought this up with the development review. Was the power line going over your property? Is that going underground or is it being moved?
Right now, we're kind of looking into that, and then along with that, and then the sewage, trying to kind of update our plans prior to our zoning meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Conley, if everyone has a copy of Mr. Conley's comments, if you could refer to that, and then maybe you could go through them with Paul's responses.
Well, I have a couple of comments to make. First off, I absolutely disagree with the applicant's.
Tom, I can't hear you. Can you raise your voice? You're hard to hear. Your volume's down.
So I was saying I absolutely disagree with the applicant's assertion that this property does not have a ton of visibility. Speaking about the barn or the outbuilding in the back, it's visible, absolutely visible from the property directly to the south. There's a driveway there, and you get a great view of the side of the barn. The street that's directly behind the property, there's a public parking lot there, and you can see the other three sides of this building from that parking lot and the street behind. So it's absolutely visible on all four sides. And I 100% disagree with everything that Mr. Sionis said, had responded to my memo there. They're looking for a contemporary look for this outbuilding, which is not why we're here. This is Historic Preservation Commission. I'm losing my voice, sorry. And everything that I stated in my memo has to do with traditional architecture and architecture which is found in New Jersey or within this historic district. And that's all I have to say. So it's really up to the board if they want to agree to these things or not, but
I noticed our code deals with visibility from the public right of way. I thought the testimony was about visibility from the public right of way and not visibility from somebody else's property. Now, I'm not trying to, I don't know if that's what I heard. I just wanted to
yep, no, from both.
match that with the law.
No, from both streets, you have a great view of the outbuilding. Did anyone else visit the property? Because I did, and you could absolutely see it.
I have to say that I did, and I was, yes, you can certainly see it from the street that the house fronts on. I didn't go by the Union Gardens, however. So I don't know about that view. I take your word for that, Tom. Do you have anything else to add, Tom?
No, my biggest concern was about the fenestration. That's not the way windows are done. If you look at the way the windows were drawn on the proposed garage, they were drawn with a historical sill and a drip cap. Paired windows, that's not the way you pair windows. If you look at any building in Montclair, when you pair windows, they always have a mullion between them. The siding, the board and batten siding that's proposed for the upper story, that board is scaled at 2 feet wide. Historically or typically, a board would never be that wide on the barn. It would be more like in the 10 to 12 inch range. And the other issue I'll have is with the actual glazing on the doors, the proposed doors. Typically, there's a taller vertical element than a horizontal when we're talking traditional architecture, which is why we're here. But again, it's up to the board. Those were my biggest concerns about this outbuilding.
Okay. May I ask a question, Mr. Plofker? Do you know how old the current building? Getting a lot of feedback now.
I'm sorry, I don't know how old that current barn is.
Okay, so you don't know if it was, and it's currently clapboard, like a traditional 4-inch, what is traditional, 3.5, 4-inch clapboard?
In regards to the siding?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I believe it's vertical on one half and horizontal on the other side.
Okay. All right, so thank you. So do we have any other questions for the applicant? And maybe now we can go through comments? No more questions. Okay, so comments, Jason. You've heard well, we've all heard the discussion. We've heard Tom's concerns about the width of the vertical board and also his concern with the windows, the fenestration that's being proposed. So do you have any comments that could continue that conversation?
I mean, nothing to add substantively, but the fact that it is visible from a right of way, albeit not the right of way directly in front of that property, is material to how this building is designed. And because it's essentially a new building, there is latitude in the ability to build something consistent with the design guidelines. So I have no issues with the grant of the variance for the additional unit or the location or the general use of the property because they're existing footprints. I do echo Tom's concerns and critiques of the proposed third unit, and I think if the zoning board were to grant that variance, I think the applicant should take a closer look at the design guidelines and revise some of those designs.
Sorry, in Janice's memo from the planning board, that the design guidelines note that new outbuildings should be complementary and compatible with the architectural scale and style of the existing dwelling. So we're speaking about the house in front of it that we should keep in mind. So let's go to Mr. Rooney. Do you have any thing further to add about the siding and the windows?
I do not.
Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. Opinion-wise.
Opinion-wise, I think that the garage should match closer to the design of the front of the front house, because I think that's really what you kind of see together. There may be a separation once you put in the garage that you really won't see the existing barn.
Okay, but I think that the existing barn, because it's a flag lot, the side of it is visible from the street, from North Willow. Are you speaking about the proposed changes to the barn or the new garage?
I was speaking about the garage.
Okay.
The barn actually on the side of North Willow is going to be completely blank, because I think that we had talked about this at the review committee, was that it is so close to the existing structure in the adjacent lot that you may have a fire code problem and you wouldn't be able to have windows there.
Yes, but the extra wide vertical siding will be seen, will be visible.
Yes, yeah, that will be visible. Normally, that's anywhere from 1 foot wide to 18 inches wide, because usually your trees weren't that big.
Right.
You can, unless the house was built in the 1850s, you're not going to have anything that wide.
Right. So what do you think of the idea of this being 2 feet wide? They're going beyond what would have,
Well, I don't think it should be any wider than 2 feet.
but is 2 feet too wide? Let's put it that way.
Well, like I said, it depends on at the time that when it was originally built, it depends on, there, you can see the house.
Right, the barn.
The barn. I think 1 foot is too narrow. That would kind of tell you that it was built in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
A foot and a half would probably be better.
Okay. Anything else to add?
No, I don't see anything else to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reimnitz?
I have no comments other than the garage relating to one or the other. That's really it.
And how do you feel about the width of the vertical siding? Is it the 2 feet as opposed to 18 inches?
It's a 6-inch difference. I don't, I think I realize we're the Historic Preservation Commission, but I think this is, I think this breathes some fresh blood into this neighborhood, and I think it's hardly visible. So I don't have a strong opinion about that.
And what about the windows as proposed?
The windows look like they're modern, based on what I'm looking at, look like they're, very simple, modern. He tried to square everything off. I think it actually looks pretty good. That's my opinion.
Okay, and Caroline's not here, is she? No. Everyone's gotten a chance to speak? Okay. So I think, Janice, can you go back to the proposed drawing, the drawings, please?
Kathleen, I'd just like to point out one other thing, that the drawings for the garage state that they're proposing vinyl siding.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, and I think Paul did address that in his memo, which number 9, it said vinyl siding will not be used on the new garage. So I guess what we all have to consider whether or not, and Tom, I'm sorry, let me just backtrack that he does say that there's a new eave overhang proposed for the gable end of the existing outbuilding, which is the barn.
That's right. It's currently not there. I wanted a clarification if they were actually doing that, or it was.
Okay, so that should be if it's not there, it should be in our recommendations. And then number 4, which is the string course between the lower horizontal clapboard and upper board and batten siding. 8-inch cap board shown as the string chords transition. Is that a string course that you're speaking about, that you're describing, or is this different?
It is there. It's just hard to read. So
so we should put this in, make sure that they're in our recommendations. That's the string course, the gables. There's no exterior work proposed for the existing single-family residence, and the idea of the windows, and I know, Tom, number 7 is all windows should have a visible historic sill. Okay, so what they're trying to do is a modern farmhouse vibe.
It just goes against what's written in the,
In the guidelines.
right.
Okay. So, so I think we have a difference of opinion as to, I mean, there's a couple of things that we could go forward with here in terms of the width of the board and batten at the top, that it be scaled back to 18 inches, which would still give you a modern look. And then the windows. Janice, could you put up the facade that would face the west? Because the north windows you won't see, that facade. Okay, that's it. That's the west. So there's one proposed window which may, according to Mr. Rooney, may not be allowable because of, I forgot what he said, but it may not, you'll see one window on that side. And then the south, there's no windows. And what about on the east? Can you put up the eastern facade? Which is visible from the parking lot. Okay.
I just want to say that that's a private parking lot. It's not for public parking. It's for residents of the Union Gardens.
But you can't see it from the street.
Okay.
Right. You can see it from the street. So, which I think is something that we have to consider. So, if the windows, if they were more historically bent, would have a wider, what did you call it in the center? A wider
A mullion.
a mullion. So what is, okay, so we're putting out there, what does the commission think is historically these double windows would have had a wide mullion in the center? Is that something that we're going to adhere to?
Well, here's another thing though, but typically outbuildings would not have grouped windows like this. They would be a single window like you see on the other facade, the west facade.
Right.
Typically barns or outbuildings had just one window type in the building. They didn't have multiple openings with different window types. So, you know, either change all the windows or separate them to be historically accurate. This is not the way you, you know, design for historic neighborhoods.
But considering that the west elevation is really the one that you'll be seeing, and that's a single window, we just looked at that, and this one really has an obstructed view. I didn't go down that street to look at to see how visible this was from the other side. Is it more? Do we have a picture of that, Janice? No, probably.
I'm working on it.
Maybe you could do Google Earth and get.
That's what I'm trying to do. So if you hang with me, I'll get there.
Okay, that would be very helpful, because I think what we have to decide now is the visibility from what is that street?
It's Forest. Hold on. Union Street. I'm sorry, it's Union Street.
Okay.
So we are here. Okay. Let me bring my little guy. Right. I'm not quite sure where you'll see it from.
You want to be next to what's the public building there, or whatever building that is, a large building?
Why am I in Greenwood? Let me go back. Yeah, no, it's actually Greenwood Avenue. So you mean this building? You can see it from here?
right up the driveway there. Yeah.
Okay, because this is the building here, so I'll look at it here.
Okay, so you're looking through the driveway into the parking lot, and there's a row of tree. Whoops.
That's it. It's there, but you might be able to see it when there's no leaves on the trees.
Right.
But when there's leaves on the trees, I don't think you will.
Right.
Because it's over this way. It's not directly.
Nope. Yeah, it's right there, right where your cursor is.
That's it?
Yep.
I thought it was further down.
Nope.
No, I think if you looked from a map plan, you could see it. I think it's on the edge of the parking lot. I think it's more visible from that house, the yellow house there to the north, from that driveway.
This driveway?
That one,
The yellow.
in that house. Can you go?
I don't think you really see very much.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Okay. No, you just sort of see
A
you see
tree.
that there's a big tree. Okay.
If you look at the map and you see the alignment, on Greenwood Avenue, there are 3 properties with houses that are sort of directly blocking this property. And then there's a gap, and then there's Greenwood Union Gardens. So it seems that, and then so it seems from Greenwood, at least as the map shows, it's a big difference when you stand out there, but when the map shows very little visual access.
Yeah.
And by the way, this house was built in 1888. The township's records have it at 1888.
Which house? The main house on this property?
Yeah.
37 North Willow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. There's nothing in my records about when that barn was constructed.
But our tax records, I don't know about the barn. The house was 1888.
Okay. So I think we've got an idea of how visible and what the visibility is from both North Willow and Greenwood Avenue, which is really what we're most interested in. Does anyone else have any other further discussion aside from the garage, which let's just work out the garage now. The garage should have stylistically should be more in keeping with the style of the house. John, that was your comment?
My comment was instead of having 3 different things going on the property, make it relate to the house or to this new construction. That would be my opinion.
Okay, and if they want it as more of a barn look, then maybe it should, I think your point was it should relate more to the house rather than have, I understand what you're saying. So design-wise, relate more to, stylistically to the house. We're not telling them how to design it, but.
Well, yeah, I think if the house was built in 1888 and has a lot of details from 1888, I would apply that to the garage detailing. It's as simple as that. And I think if it relates to the new construction, it should have the similar detailing to the new construction. Instead of having like a hip roof, I think it probably should have a gable roof, but that like this barn has a gable roof. So there you go,
Right. And I think the garage is something that really, there is minimal visibility from either street.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good design point. Now we'll concentrate on this building here, which is the new old barn, the old new barn. And I think we can look at the siding and then the windows. So if it's on the same footprint and not getting any larger, and Is the old barn, does that has a gabled, yeah, you just said that has a gabled roof as well. So it's in the style of those turn of the century barns. So I'd like to get a consensus on the width of the vertical batten on the top, whether we should recommend that it go to 18 inches.
I think we could recommend it go to 18 inches. I don't think it would make any difference to the overall look of this. I think my other comment as I look at this more closely is the board and battens really don't have anything to do with the window penetrations. It seems like to me they should somehow, the battens should be centered on the line up somehow. And that just takes a little effort. And I don't, I think this is just an image, but I would, I think that goes to just, making it look, that's simple control of construction there. So, and maybe just shifting the window a little bit so you all of a sudden don't end up with a batten sort of running half along a window trim or something. So, that's a minor detail. It just, I think 18 inch, fine.
Okay, but I think that's important because I think it'll give it a much better look. Okay, so the windows line up with the batten. If we're going to recommend that it go down to 18 inches, and then Janice, could you go back again? I'm sorry, to the west side of the house. Yeah, with just those two. Oh, so those are the single windows, Tom, that you had described, which would be more original to a building of this time period, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are these double hung windows? And on the other side, what are they? What are you proposing? Janice, I'm sorry, could you go back? Okay, so we're okay with the windows on the west side of the house. And what about this side, the east side? Any opinions?
They appear to be casements. It's not double hung.
Are these casement windows?
That's the way they're drawn. The ones on the other side are awning windows, the way they're shown vented. You see how it's the little angles are pointed to the top? That's an awning. That's a typical designation for an awning window.
Yeah, to me, it looks like you have casements and awnings, but they're made to look like double hungs with the center bar.
I think it wouldn't change the design very much if indeed the center mutton bar was thicker. That would give it a little bit more heft, but still, and I don't think that affects Cody and what he wants to do there. That's a small, very tiny sort of thing to worry about, I think. But I think you could heavy that up and it'd be fine. It'd come across as being more traditional, but modern at the same time.
I'm just trying to get a consensus here. The mullions that we're looking at on the east side, rather, should be thicker on these windows, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
And then Janice, can you go to the north again? The which I believe is the entryway that has that rear building west there. So what are these windows then? These are
these are also casement windows, and it looks like the ones in the middle are fixed.
Is that the way it is, Cody?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So considering that these will be visible from the north, that you won't see this, but with the continuity with the rest of the building from the east and the west, what does my colleagues think about this facade, just as a general design?
I think it's fine. And I think here they took the effort to get the battens of the board and battens
Right.
to line up with the windows. I think when you look at this, it just feels better. I think, again, if you heavy up the muttons or the mullions, it'll make it feel a little bit more traditional. Other than that, I think it looks great.
Okay.
I agree.
And Steve, what's your opinion?
Well, I would say I agree with John.
Okay, I didn't hear you. Okay, and Jason, how do you feel about this with those recommendations?
And I'll defer to the architects on that. But my general opinion is overall the building should be more consistent with the main structure. But in terms of minor tweaks to the design, again, I'll defer to the architects.
Okay, and I just again want to reiterate what our design guidelines note, that new outbuildings with this, which this is essentially a new outbuilding, should be complementary and compatible with the architectural scale and style of the existing dwelling, which is the dwelling, the family house in the front. But considering that this is a barn and they're bringing in barn elements with the vertical board and batten, I think that it would improve the overall design if the vertical goes down to 18 inches. I think that 24 just makes it look too, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. So we have a couple of recommendations. We have 3 or 4. Janice, have you been keeping tabs on these? I have them written down as well.
Yes, well, my notes say the 18-inch vertical siding, the windows should line up with the board and battens. The center muntins and mullions of the windows should be thicker to provide a more traditional feel. Those are what I have down.
Those are
Those are
good.
3, and then we have another one about the garage.
Right, I just noticed that. That's the garage, yep. The garage should be made to complement either the house in the front or the converted barn in the back.
Right.
And complement in terms of style.
Right. And we just threw out some, John just threw something out about the having a gable end on that garage as opposed to what you have on it now. Is there any other further discussion on this? And I think we've, okay, I think we have touched on everything. Okay, and then Janice, the things that Tom had questions for Paul that Paul has answered, which are no exterior work. Does that have to be within our recommendation? The eave overhang?
We can put it in the report that the plans, the plans should be revised to reflect the comments that were made in Paul's report.
Okay, all right.
So,
as long as that's in there, so that the applicant and his architect have that.
Right.
Okay. So those are our recommendations. Where did you go, Cody? Those are our recommendations. Does anyone else have any others? Well, if we have no other further recommendations, then that will go to the zoning board. And good luck with the project. It seems like once you get these things straightened out, it'll look really be an improvement to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Cody.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Okay. And our next order of business is certificate and resolutions. If everyone has a copy of what Janice prepared. I can't find my copy. Well, why don't we look at, does everyone have your copy of the 395 to 399 Bloomfield Avenue, which is Ascend, New Jersey? Those were the people that came back to us with plans.
I have mine.
Okay, I don't know where, well, hold on. Okay, here it is. So the one thing that I wanted to just clarify with that is the sentence that I asked to be amended to the minutes. And that would be on page 2 of 3, number 8, sentence number 3. Which the commission also, which should read the same as the minutes. The commission also say that the horizontal lines of the wood look panels in the vestibule should be consistent with the existing corbel band of the pilaster in the facade. And then at the bottom on 11, where it says approved, on a motion by Mr. Greenbaum and seconded by Mr. Rooney, the commission voted to approve the application subject to it should be the above mentioned conditions in a vote of. Okay. Okay, so that looks good. Janice, I'll send you that wording for that sentence, which should be the same. Okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so, and then the next one, oh, do we have to?
We need a vote. Yeah, we got to
vote on this. Right. So who would like to make a motion to accept this with the changes as proposed?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Abstain.
And then we move along to the CofA application 2020-32, the United Way of North New Jersey at 60 South Fullerton. Has everyone had a chance to review this resolution? And Janice, I would just, on page 2 of 3, number 11, where you have on a motion by Mr. Reinitz and seconded by Mr. Rooney, the commission voted to approve the application in a vote of. So subject to the conditions below should be struck.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Question.
Yes.
And are 8 and 9 the same?
Oh, that was my other, yeah. So number 8, it should be Historic Preservation Commission recommends the following as conditions of any approval. And you have a semicolon. It should have none after that.
Okay.
Yeah, good catch, Steve. So with those two changes, would somebody please make a motion to accept?
I move to accept.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, then our next meeting is we voted on at the last the November meeting will be January 28th, which seems like a lifetime away. So everyone have a very, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, as best as everyone can celebrate, and we'll see each other in the new year.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Janice. Thanks, Ira.
We need a motion. We need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second? Steve?
All in favor, yeah?
Yeah, I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All
Okay.
right,
Bye-bye,
great.
guys.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
See you next year.
Thanks,
Okay,
Tom.
thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Tom.
night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Janice. I'll send you that.
That you're rewording, that would be great. And I'll work on a resolution for the for Tom for next year.
Perfect. Okay. And are we still being recorded or are we off?
We're still being recorded.
Okay. All right. Good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.